Oh. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् Hari Om. For a text like Drigdrishya Viveka and a time like this, 6:30 a.m. in the morning, Shanti Mantra becomes even more important for us, where we pray to Bhagwan that in this time while we are doing Shravanam, may we have that alertness, may there be no sleep, and everything else that I have to do next, may that be there for some time. I'll do it, I'll start taking on that after this Shravanam is done. So we are seeing that Vidyaranya Swamiji has been very systematically defining experiences that we are going through day in and day out. For example, the simple experience of seeing a phone. That is where we started, where Swamiji has broken down this experience into 3 pairs of seer and seen. Those 3 pairs are not working in tandem. I'm glad all of you are thinking about it and also asking questions. So I just wanted to clarify this point. The 3 pairs are for our understanding. It is not that first the eye will see the phone and then mind will see the eyes, and later on consciousness Sakshi will see the mind. All 3 are working together, but right now there is aviveka. I never feel consciousness is illumining this phone. So that eye is landing up, when I say eye, that eye is landing up somewhere either on the body or in the eyes or in the mind. So through this prakriya, Vidyaranya Swamiji is as though guiding us who is the innermost seer. How you peel an onion, right? You have the outside peels that you take out, you go inside, and then finally you see something different than what you could have seen just from outside. This is called the process of viveka. Why do we say only the eyes are the seer in the first seer-seen pair? I had mentioned it is because eyes are asadharana karana. Means even though mind is there, even though consciousness is illuminating, but because eyes are needed, the main entity which is needed to see a phone, that is why it is called the seer in the first seer-seen pair. So let us just go through them really quickly. We were seeing all these seer-seen pairs, the 3 of them. We saw 2 in light of the 4 rules which Pujya Guruji has given. So on page number 2, those rules were there. I'm going through this again because what is going to come today is probably one of the most important concepts of Advaita Vedanta. Okay, so let us quickly revise this. First rule said, seer and seen are different. And I came to know that the new book has another rule, which is, a subset of this rule only, where it is said, seer can never become the seen and seen can never become the seer. Meaning what? Their qualities cannot be interchanged. They won't get interchanged. So if the phone has some color, my eyes won't have that color. Okay, so seer can never become the seen and seen can never become the seer. Most importantly, they are two different things. Now you realize how this Viveka starts getting subtler and subtler when you go within. Okay, this is easy to understand that phone is different, eyes are different. But when it comes to eyes and the mind, it is little subtler. Mind consciousness, it is like almost, it takes several, Swamiji used to say several janmas to understand that mind is different from consciousness. All right, that was the first rule. And we saw even for the second seer-seen pair, which is the eyes and the mind, their attributes are different. So they cannot be interchanged. Eyes won't start thinking, neither will mind start getting sharper or duller just because eyes have sharpness and dullness. Okay, so properties of both of them will be different. Then the second one was, seer cannot see itself and the seen cannot see itself. Meaning very fact that I am seeing this phone shows that I have eyes. Because eyes cannot see themselves and the phone also cannot see itself. So you need a seer and a seen for seeing to take place. Seeing here, you understand it as knowing also. Both are same. The first rule that we saw, I think that is the most important rule. Other ones will help us understand, but the primary one will be the first one, especially in meditation. Third rule was, one and the same thing cannot become seer and the seen. And I had said in parentheses, within the same pair. Meaning the phone cannot start looking at the eyes, eyes won't start looking at the mind. And the last one was, seer is aware and seen is inert. So I had mentioned that the most important point here is, seen is inert. Because this object is seen, it is inert. Sense organ, because they are seen, it is inert. Now we will come to the another one in today's shloka. Okay, that is the most important one. Mind is also inert because it is seen. It might have ability to reflect consciousness, which is another, aspect of the medium. But because it becomes seen, it is inert. So Vidyaranya Swamiji said, Sankalpayen manashrotra tvagadau yojyatamidam. Means he is saying, although I have started this shloka with Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Druka, I am using only eyes to give you example in the shloka. Make sure that in Rupam, we include this entire creation. And in sense organs, we include all 5 sense organs through which we are having perception of this creation. Tvagadav yojyatamidam. Think of it in this way. We had seen yojyata means uhyatam. It is said Mahatmas, when they walk on their path, right? Shankaracharya says it is like birds flying in the air. Means you will never know how they reached where they are right now. But they leave some clues, like in this shloka, Vidyaranya Swamiji is saying, we went through this way. We have thought in this way. You also think in this way. Uhyatam means that. So, we should catch hold of those clues, and whichever thinking we can own up, settling down in that thinking will help us a lot. Like this one, right? For example, Rupam Drishyam, Drigdrishya Viveka, thinking. So we should spend some time consciously thinking in this way. Seer seen pair 1, pair 2, pair 3, until it becomes our natural way of thinking. Not getting stressed out or, too much trying to focus on one object or something. Knowledge, jnana, yoga is more of understanding. So there is nothing in this seer seen pair which is abstract or something different that Swamiji is saying. He is just systematically pointing things out. For example, Raman Maharshi ji, his way of inquiry was questioning who is this aham. So he stayed with that inquiry, and that inquiry is leading you to the absolute. So in the same way, Drigdrishya Viveka also is like one way of thinking, and very practical, I would say, because experience of the world we have all the time. All we need to do is use that experience to start turning within. That is this Uhyatam. And Swamiji had also said, Vidyaranya Swamiji, that Viveka done by somebody else is not going to remove my sorrow. We started this class with the quest for pursuit of happiness, right? That is where we started. Somebody else finding this pursuit is not going to remove my sorrow or will not give me happiness. Just as if I am hungry, somebody else eating might make me feel good, but it won't remove my hunger. So Viveka also will have to be done by me. And Ananda Anubhuti, that Paramananda Prapti also has to be done by me only, by this sadhaka. Okay, so that is why Vidyaranya Swamiji is saying, think of it in this way. Seer seen pair 1, pair 2, and now comes the most important seer seen pair. Okay, something which we have been waiting for so long. The reason why we went so slow to come to this shloka. Okay, let us chant the 4th shloka now. Kama sankalpa sandeho, Kama sankalpa sandeho, Shraddha shraddhe dhruti tare, Shraddha shraddhe dhruti tare, Hrir dhir bhirityeva Hrir dhir bhirityeva Bhasayatyekadha chitihi, Bhasayatyekadha chitihi, Kama sankalpa sandeho, Shraddha shraddhe dhruti tare, Hrir dhir bhirityeva Bhasayatyekadha chitihi. So now we have come to the 3rd seer seen pair. The first one was object and the eyes. Second one was eyes and the mind. And now it is mind and sakshi, pure consciousness. So this shloka, 4th, is an elaboration of the 3rd quarter of 1st shloka. I mentioned it in the first class. First shloka, Vidyaranya Swamiji said, Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Druk. Then he elaborated that portion in 2nd shloka. Quarter after that was Tad Drishyam Draktumanasam, elaborated it in 3rd shloka. Then he is going to say Drishya Dhivrittayaha Sakshi. Now what is Dhivritti? That he is elaborating in 4th shloka. What he means by thoughts. Now this is an Upanishad mantra from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Swamiji has put it in shloka format. First one, he says, thoughts, what we mean by thoughts are all these things. Kamaha, desire. Desire about anything. It is a thought. Sankalpaha, determination or clarity about this is what I am going to do. Sandehaha, doubt, whether or not I should do this. Okay. Sandehaha. Shraddha, conviction, faith. Ashraddha, not having that faith. Could be anything. We can just take example. Puja Guruji is very nicely given dialogue with the mind. You don't have to read it now, but I'm just saying later if you want to go and read it. He says, should I read Bhagavad Gita? Oh, what is there in Bhagavad Gita? Like Bhagwan Krishna has said. So some Shraddha is there. But in today's time, I don't know if it is relevant or not. Ashraddha. Okay, so like that, there are different type of thoughts that come in our mind. Dhruti. Dhruti means fortitude. Making sure that I'm going to go through this situation no matter what. Dhruti. Itare. Opposite of that also. Lack of fortitude, weakness. Hri really means lajja. Okay. The closest word here is modesty, but in Hindi, if you want to understand it, it is lajja, hri. Dhi means understanding. Drigdrishya Viveka is clear, seer seen pair 1, seer seen pair 2, seer seen pair 3. That is also a thought of the mind. Okay, Dhihi. Opposite also is true. I have understood nothing. That also is a thought of the mind. Why is it? Okay, I'll come to that in a minute. Let me complete this. Bhihi means fear. Fear about anything. It says it is also a thought. Ityevam adin. Adin means everything else you include here now. Bhasayati ekadha chitihi. This is the main phrase. All these things are known to consciousness, to Sakshi. In what way it is known? Don't complicate it, just understand from your own experience. Do I know that I have a desire or not? Yes. Sometimes thought of fear is there. I know that, this thought is there. Thoughts are known to us and known only to us, thankfully, not to anybody else. So that is why this shloka says, third seer seen pair, thoughts are also objects of knowledge. The knower is Sakshi. Drushyaha dhivrittayaha Sakshi. I know that a thought has come, a thought has gone. While I was sitting in your class for 30 minutes, I was somewhere else. Now that you have mentioned, I'm coming back. Who knew that this thought has come back? That knower is Sakshi. So now let us apply all the 4 rules to this seer seen pair now, the third seer seen pair between the mind and Sakshi. So vrittis are of different kinds, but the 4 rules is what we are more interested in now. So now comes the most fun portion of Advaita Vedanta. If we understand this right, our meditation will be deeper and we won't be confused in meditation. So apply the first seer seen pair. Seer and seen are different. Means if thoughts are seen, mind is seen, it is different from the seer. And that seer is consciousness, which is Sakshi. And Sakshi is always Antaranga. It is the innermost. I cannot say something outside is seeing my thoughts. At least that much we can say by, even if you don't know nature of Sakshi, nature of consciousness, at least we know that it is the innermost seer and mind is seen. And their dharma will not get interchanged. Their attributes will not get interchanged. Just like if the first seer seen pair is clear, the third seer seen pair, there is no reason why we should not be clear. Just as the phone's color does not go to the eyes, and we said the phone does not start blinking just like the eyes or shedding tears like the eyes. Now apply this to the third seer seen pair. All the emotions that are there in the thought don't get transferred onto the seer, Sakshi. And vice versa is also true. Okay. So mind will never be able to illumine on its own. Illumination is nature of Sakshi. So this particular point is going to help us a lot. Previous to studying Drigdrishya Viveka, previous to understanding Vedanta, the statement we would say is, I am happy, I am sad, I am disturbed, I am content. All these are statements. After studying the Drigdrishya Viveka, the statement should be, I know that I am happy. I know that I am sad. I know that I am content. That knowing portion is what is introduced by this analysis. Okay, so that is the first seer-seen pair. Let's come to the second one. Seer cannot know itself and seen cannot know itself. So apply this to mind and Sakshi now. What is the seen here? Mind. So mind cannot know itself. I didn't want to go in the technical analysis of why mind cannot know itself. But if that question is there, we'll see it later. But for now, let us keep it to this. Okay, there is a very systematic thought process of why mind cannot know itself, why observer and the observed cannot be one. Okay, that is the thought process there. Okay, so mind cannot see itself, means thought cannot know themselves. So Sakshi is needed, first of all, to know thoughts. And Sakshi need not know itself. And it cannot also. Why? Because it's of the nature of knowledge. It is of the nature of knowing. So you have to know a thing which is inert. But Sakshi is Chaitanya Swarupa. So that is why it need not know itself. Nature of Sakshi, more we will elaborate. Okay, this shloka, what it's doing is, it is first telling us they are two different things. Now, just because they are two different, Vidyaranya Swamiji doesn't stop there. He doesn't want to leave us with a vague notion of what is this observer, who is this Sakshi, what is the nature of this observer. So next shloka will elaborate on that, but as of now, it is just making that separation. Now third one is also a beautiful rule. Apply that one. What was the third rule? One and the same thing cannot become seer and the seen within the same pair. Meaning what we had said, it cannot reverse the role. Just like the phone cannot start seeing the eyes, mind cannot start seeing Sakshi. This is, I had mentioned in the last class also, very important aspect in meditation. What it's saying is, don't try to look for Sakshi in meditation. Don't try to think, where is Sakshi? It is said, because of Sakshi, mind is able to illumine. So then the question comes, what do we mean by saying that we need to use the mind? In Vedanta we say, right? We need to use the mind. We cannot destroy the mind or let go of the mind. What it means is, we need to use the mind to let go of what we are not. This entire Shravanam, this entire class, the speaker who is speaking, the listeners who are listening, all of this is happening through the mind only. But what is the knowledge that is going in, or what should go in, is that I am not the body, I am not this drishya, I am not the sense organs, also not the mind. That is the role of mind. Okay, the role of mind is to let go of what it is not, including itself. In Vivek Chudamani, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji writes a very beautiful statement. He says, Tannishedavadis sakshi bodha rupo avashishyate. Tan nishedavadi. Nishedavadi means what? The pinnacle of negation. Means having negated the body, having negated the sense organs. First, the drishya, prapancha, the world outside. What remains after negating everything, he says that tan nisheda avadihi is sakshi. Drigdrishya viveka sakshi, same sakshi. Bodha rupa avashishyate. It is of the nature of pure knowledge. Okay. So this is the third rule. And how does it help in meditation? Sometimes when we sit in meditation, thoughts come. In spite of having done sadhana, in spite of having purity in vyavahara, everything has been done, still some thought might come. Vedantic meditation, if we are clear about it, we can use that thought to shift our attention to the substratum. Okay, apply rule number 1. If there is a thought, that itself means I'm not the thought. Just like if there is a phone, it itself means I'm not the eyes. See or seen pair you apply. So if I see a thought, first understanding is I'm different from the thought. Second understanding is it will come later. Okay, what is the relation between the thought and the consciousness? Right? But for now, we can just keep it as I am not the thought. But as I mentioned earlier, this is only after having done sadhana. Means what? The quality of thought, not paying attention to it, can be done only after mind has been purified, because those disturbing thoughts or other negative thoughts would have been taken care of by sadhana. That is why we saw the qualifications last time from Kathopanishad, where it was said moderation and alertness in vyavahara. All of that will help me here. Having a sattvic mind, that will also help here. And patient and consistent effort. This one shloka we have studied, this thought process won't become natural right away, but we should stay with it for some time. That is when it will start speaking to us. Throughout the day, we should make it a habit. If not all the time, at least for some time, bring this idea to your mind and say, thought is seen. Bring some pleasant thought. Okay? It is hard to do it when disturbing thoughts are there or some gush of thought is going on. We can only watch it then. We cannot do anything. We are washed away with it. It is just like saying, I had a heated argument with somebody and I had a very peaceful meditation. No matter how logically you can explain it, you try doing it and see whether it's possible or not. That is why so much importance is given on sadhana in Advaita Vedanta. Purpose of sadhana is to make myself ready for this kind of vichara. Okay, so that is the aspect of this one. Mind cannot see Sakshi. It is Sakshi which is seeing the mind. So no matter what thought is coming, that thought is seen by Sakshi, by me. That is my nature. Sakshi also sometimes becomes another thing. So we should make sure we bring it to I. Now the last rule, I hope this point is clear. The main point of this rule number 3 is don't search for Sakshi in meditation. It is Sakshi because of which I am able to meditate. No things, no thoughts. That is the main point, takeaway point from this. Last one was seer is aware and seen is inert. Now I had mentioned that the main emphasis of this rule is seen is inert. Because cell phone is seen, it is inert. Because eyes become seen, they are inert. Now is the most important point. Because mind is seen, it is also inert. This is a beautiful point if we can appreciate the depth of this. If a thought which is there, let us say it's a disturbing thought, first understanding is this thought is inert. It is me who is giving life to this thought. Puja Guruji puts it very beautifully. Guruji says, will the wave be afraid of the water? Okay. Will the wave be afraid of the water? So here also, the wave is this thought which is there. And the one who is enlivening this thought is Sakshi, pure consciousness. Sense organs are inert, mind is also inert. Purpose of sadhana would be to purify the mind, make sure that it is in a state where it can appreciate this and digest it and own it up. Everything is done after that. And because of sadhana, all other thoughts which are coming, right, they will be of very good quality, very pure. You won't be, too bothered by them anyway. Such a mind can disown the mind. generally we hear the term disowning the mind, right? So that is, which kind of mind can be disowned? It is said a pure mind which has that sattvic nature in it, that mind can be easily disowned. So our purpose is very clear in Vedanta. One is purity of mind. Second is clarity of knowledge. What Drigdrishya Viveka is doing is clarity of knowledge part. It's not telling us what sadhanas we need to do. All of that is in Sadhana Panchakam, Saturday. Okay. So both of it has to come together. And this idea, what we saw today, will help clarify a lot of things. We will spend some more time on it in the next session also. But it will give strength to our thinking. This is called Shrutimata Tarka. Okay, that logic which is in line with Shruti. Upanishad said, Yan manasan manute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi. That yan manasa na manute, that which is not thought of by the mind. Yenahur manomatam, that by which mind is able to think. That Brahman you are. So now apply Drigdrishya Viveka there. Okay, Kenopanishad. Mind is that which cannot know Sakshi. Okay, Yan manasa na manute. That is that portion. Yenahur manomatam, that because of which mind is able to think. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, that Brahman you are. Okay, this is a very straightforward way of understanding Drigdrishya Viveka. And also we will see in the next session a little more about this. And now Vidyanand Swamiji is going to tell us some very important points about nature of Sakshi. Achha, I'll leave you all with one question before we conclude. Now we have seen this seer seen pairs, right? Seer seen pair 1, seer seen pair 2, seer seen pair 3. And we were also able to make Viveka. Separation we were able to make between first, second and third. You must have seen generally in Vedanta we say, Viveka leads to Vairagya. Right? Natural progression of Viveka should be Vairagya. Towards what? Towards Anatma. If you do Atma Anatma Viveka, it is said natural progression is towards Vairagya. Now the question we should ask ourselves is, now I have done this Viveka. Have I got Vairagya? Right? Have I got Vairagya towards Drishya? What Viveka did we do? Drigdrishya Viveka. Right? That was the main purpose of this text. So the question that comes to a sadhaka, or should come to a sadhaka is, why is it said that Viveka will naturally lead to Vairagya? If it is said so, has it happened in my case or not? If not, why? If yes, then great. nothing to think more about it. Everything is good. So this we will take up in next class. Okay. So until this point, but these 4 rules are beautiful. Even if we can hold on to the first one, right? Seer and seen are different. Mind is different from pure consciousness, which is my true nature. That is good enough. Okay, we'll stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. I see some questions here. I'll take them really quick. Is it possible that one portion of the mind is seeing the thoughts? There are 3 questions. Let me read that. Otherwise, we are saying Sakshi also generates thoughts. Good. Sakshi is not generating thought. Sakshi is only observing the thoughts. Thoughts are generated in Antakarana. Now the first question is it possible that one portion of the mind is seeing the thoughts? This is one matam which is called as, okay, let me mention it, Kshanikavada. Okay, Kshanikavada says Within the thought, there is Swagata Bheda. Swagata Bheda means what? It is split into two portions. One portion of thought is seeing another portion of thought. Means mind, you call it here. One portion of mind is seeing another portion of mind. And there is no need of another Sakshi. So like this, there are flashes of seer-seen pairs which are floating around. And with that, we have perception of this creation. The question we should ask there is, if one thought is seeing another thought, and now that pair has gone away, how will I remember things? Because the seer and the seen both have gone away. For example, I ate something last night, right? Now today morning, I remember what I ate last night. If I see that picture again, I will remember what I've eaten last night. Now, if that seer-seen pair was within the mind and that has gone away, how am I able to remember? This is the reason why we say seer and seen cannot be in the mind itself. There has to be an entity which is different, which is observing the thoughts. But in a simple way, if you want to put it, you say seer and seen have to be different, and that is why we need Sakshi. Another, because this topic has come, I'll mention that another view also. Another viewpoint is, one thought is seeing another thought as they are going through. Meaning, there is a stream of thought which is coming. Once the first thought has come, the second thought which is coming sees the first thought. Now this has gone, second thought has come here, third thought which is coming comes and sees this thought. So here also it is said, at one time there can only be one thought in the mind. There cannot be many thoughts. At one time, Antakarana can have only one vritti. So that is why, if one thought is there, another thought has come. If we say this thought is seeing this thought is gone. Right? So there is only one thought at a time. That is why we need another Sakshi to witness this. Anugami vritti cannot be observer. Anugami means what? That which comes and sees the later one. For example, if in this room, right, I am sitting here, you come from this door and you see me. When is it that you will be able to see me? Only when both of us are there at the same time in the same place. Let us say you come and before you come in, or right at that time when you come, I walk out of this room, then you won't be able to see me. So that is why we say it is only Sakshi who is always present that is able to witness these thoughts. Okay. These two are broadly the ways we can look at it. But we don't have to get into this complication if we don't have this question. Huh? Only if we have this question to quieten that thought, quieten that question, this analysis is needed. In meditation, we should not get into mananam. All of these doubts should be cleared before we sit down for meditation. Because meditation is not for clearing doubts. Meditation is to own up nature of Sakshi. Okay. Otherwise, we are saying that Sakshi also generates thought. So Sakshi does not generate thought. And how do we say this? Because nature of Sakshi, we will come to know through Upanishad. Okay, we cannot have our own understanding of whether or not Sakshi generates thoughts. Sakshi is Nirvikara. Okay, Nirvikara is the nature of consciousness revealed by Upanishad, which is Pramana. So, Nirvikara Vastu cannot have Swagata Bheda. So, if thoughts are appearing in consciousness, it is generated in consciousness, then that would be against what is the nature of consciousness. Okay. All right. I think there was one more question, right? Because after knowing that I am happy, I say I am happy. I think mind says that. When I say I am happy, see, absolute saying will always happen by consciousness only. Identified consciousness, identified with the mind, is saying, I am happy. Okay, that is the way we should understand it. Consciousness is always there. We should never miss pure consciousness in any interaction. What is happening now is it is mixed up with several things. That is why it appears like that. Okay? Instead of saying, I know I am happy, I start saying, I am happy. That is why we need Vivek. Okay? If Sakshi is awareness, how come Sakshi cannot know itself? Awareness should be able to be aware of itself. It is aware of itself, but it is not knowing itself as another object. There is no modification happening for knowing. For example, if I need to know a phone, I need a thought. Now that thought is a itself like, this phone, like an object. Knowing itself is nature of Sakshi. How does fire burn? Fire does not burn itself because that is the nature of fire. Heat is nature of fire. And it need not burn itself, right? So it can only burn some other thing which doesn't have heat as its an inherent nature. So in the same way, ability to illumine, ability to know is nature of Sakshi. All right. Good question. There is another question here. I'm also keeping an eye on the time here. There is another question. What is Antakarana, which I will take in the next class. Okay, I will include it either in the lecture or see it at the end in the Q&A. What are the source of these axioms and rules? Source is the mananam that our Mahatmas have done. Okay, because we don't know what is Tarka Shastra, right? How to do Nyaya and all those things. So they have done all this thinking for themselves based on Upanishad mantras. That is the role of Prakarana Grantha. Upanishad mantra, which is not directly clear to us, they will help it, they will help clarify it by these rules and axioms. They are not written down somewhere in some, book or something. They have to be proven. And there is a systematic way of proving everything. We are not getting into that because the purpose of this class is not to go in that direction. So if you have to prove Drishya is Jada, you have to do a Pratijna. You have to make a statement that this is what you are going to prove. Then you have to find Hetu for it. Means the reason why you are making that statement, why you are making this axiom. Then you have to give Drishtanta. You have to give an example which will help you establish your Hetu and also your Pratijna. So all these things will happen with Nyaya. And also there are several other things, Paramarsha is there and so many other things are there. But they are very compassionate. They have simplified all of that and given us these rules so that we can digest it well and use it in our meditation. But if we ever get this doubt where these rules are coming from, we should know it is coming from their own, very deep thinking, using Tarka, using Nyaya. Okay, all right. These other questions, I have noted it. I know all of you have to go to work also. So I will take it up in the next class. Okay. Hari Om. We'll have our chanting session this afternoon. Bhagavad Gita we will chant.